Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of World Talks here on TVP World. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee, and please join me and my guests on this next interview. Marine Le Pen, leader of France's far-right national rally, faces a trial that could derail her presidential ambitions. Accused of embezzling EU funds, the case could lead to a ban on running for office. Le Pen's party has also previously been accused of taking loans from Russia and holds a Ukraine-sceptic stance. What impact will this trial have on her future and France's political landscape? Well, joining us today on TVP World is Tomasz Orłowski, a former Polish ambassador to France and Italy. Hello, sir, and welcome to TVP World.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
So can you help us understand what are the main allegations and how serious are the consequences for Marine Le Pen's political future?
Well, it is something which has happened in the recent history of France, misuse of European funds for financing political activities of political party. It is a misuse for domestic reasons. It is not an act of personal misuse of money, but use of this funds for financing political staffers of national rally. In this sense, it is something which is not really exceptional. Even a former president, late President Jacques Chirac, was accused for fictive financement of his own party in the past. It is one thing, but if the trial is going to the sentence, the final sentence, Mrs. Le Pen can lose civil rights for the period of 5 years. It means for the period when he is thinking to present her candidature for the presidential elections. She's supposed to run for the presidential election in 2027, and it is a period when she's risking to be considered ineligibility, the state of ineligibility. He can't be candidate to the presidential election. It is a point.
Like you mentioned, some using of these kind of funds for political means is not exceptional to just Marine Le Pen. And it also comes at a very sensitive timing, like you mentioned. Do you think that this might bring up some accusations of potentially this being a more political kind of charge than one from a legal basis?
When you have political leader who is going to trial, you can have a political context, obviously. Political context, thinking about the, let's say, some period of difficulties in French domestic politics. Consider that France is just starting to have a new government after 2 months of difficulties to confirm some center-right majority for governing France. And in the couple of days, this parliament will vote confidence to the new prime minister, Michel Barnier. In some extent, what will the party of Marine Le Pen do? It will be more important for the future of the Barnier government than the fact to have his own majority. This government partially is depending of the attitude of Madame Le Pen.
And well, given the National Rally has a history with the Russian loans, do you think that this case might revive some concerns about the party's kind of foreign connections?
You know, obviously, for us, not only the fact that National Rally of Madame Le Pen got the loans from Russian side via Czech banks, but we are more concerned with the fact of her proximity with President Putin. The fact she visited and she was received by President Putin in the Kremlin Palace means she is a person who is perhaps now it is not so clear as support like it was in the past, but she is supposed to have very solid ties with Russian government and with Russian politics. For this reason, obviously, we are not very convincing. We are not very convinced Madame Le Pen is still independent of the Russian assistance and Russian help.
Right, and we do know also that the National Rally is known for his Ukraine-sceptic stance. Do you think that this position might affect the public image during this trial period?
It depends. She is quite pretty, Madame Le Pen. She is not openly supporting Russians now. She is very in favor of peace. She's advancing very, let's say, very positive things about the necessity to find peace as soon as possible. She is saying suffering with victims of war in Ukraine. She is saying more. She's saying she is very in favor of peace and to stop war and new victims. It is the reason she's not supporting to help, militarily speaking, Ukraine, to send weapons to Ukrainians. And, it is very ambiguous as approach, in the sense to not say Russians are good, Ukrainians are bad, but to say sending weapons, we will help this war to be continued. And our point is to stop war as soon as possible.
Okay. And going back to the trial, I'm actually curious if you think this trial could actually strengthen Le Pen's appeal to her own base, similar to how legal challenges have actually bolstered figures like Donald Trump.
Well, concerning her trial, it is something who finally is concerning the past period when she served as member of European Parliament. It means between 2004 and 2016. It is a past. But now this past could play an important role in the French politics. First, she will be judged during next 2 months. It is very sensitive period for French domestic politics, because it is period when the Barnier government will present a new budget for 2025, and it will be, let's say, the activities, political activities and position of Madame Le Pen can be very, if not decisive, at least important for the future of this government. In the same time, if she is judged and the court is saying it is a process trial for 2 months long. 2 months long, it means end November. End November, sentence is possible. Sentence, she's facing 10 years prison, a solid fine, 1 million euro fine, but the most important is the fact she can lose civil right for the period of 5 years. If it is the case, it will be a major fact in the French domestic policy.
Right. So help us understand the impact of that. If Le Pen were actually to be barred from running, how do you see this would shift the broader French political landscape, particularly on the far right? I can imagine some disenfranchisement, it would foster contempt, and probably even further polarization.
France is living polarization since a couple of months. It is a new stage of the same way, on the same way conducting to the presidential elections. I am fearing France is entered in the quite difficult period of preparation for the presidential campaign and the presidential election. I think it will be a very difficult period for France, very difficult period for French domestic policy, thinking about the difficulties, how to manage public finance, who is the first priority of new government. French public debt is 113%, but more important is deficit of current account, who is more than 5%. For France, it is extremely hard situation how to restore some balance in public finance in the period when France is preparing next presidential election. For Madame Le Pen, it could be a good reason for perhaps for having more aggressive approach for the future. She tried during the past to be more, let's say, classical politician, member of the same political milieu. But now, if she is condemned, and even if this sentence, she will oppose appeal, obviously. But in any case, it will be the period when probably far right will be more aggressive in the political fight.
So we'll have to see how the situation developed. Meanwhile, thank you so much for your input and insight. Really appreciate it. And thanks for being with us on TVP World.
You're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thank you for watching this edition of World Talks. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.